You're the best.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ken. Start from the top. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this month's Ruby Hill Neighbors meeting. Today is Tuesday, April 19th, 2022, and it is 6:33 p.m. My name is Graydon. I am president of Ruby Hill Neighbors. I'm joined by our awesome leadership team, whom I will have them introduce themselves. We'll start with Brandy.
Hey guys, I'm Brandy Moe. I'm the past president of Ruby Hill Neighbors. I was the co-president with Jackie for I think 4 years, but we've just still never really sat down to figure it out, to be honest. I've lived in the Ruby Hill neighborhood for almost 12 years, and it's awesome. And I will pass it along to Tiffany.
Hi, I'm Tiffany. I am the communications manager for the neighborhood. I've lived in the Ruby Hill neighborhood my whole life. Oh, and I'll pass it on maybe to Ken.
Yeah, I'm Ken. I'm half of the treasurer team. Megan's beside me, but still working. The other half of the team, we've lived in Ruby Hill for about 6 years. And am I forgetting somebody or passing it back to Braden?
No, that's wonderful, Ken. And I'll just jump in there. I've been in the neighborhood since 16 and loved every minute of it. Alrighty, and then our agenda this evening, we'll begin with updates from the Police Station District 4, and then Council District 7, and then we'll have a presentation from Kat and Chris of OV Consulting regarding bikeway corridors on South Lipan and South Jason, maybe some other streets. They'll enlighten us on that. And then we have updates from Andy Thomas of the Levitt Pavilion. And then lastly, we'll have a presentation from Sharona Thompson of the Ruby Hill Community Garden. And since we have a jam-packed agenda, we'll jump right into it, and I'll hand it off to District 4.
Hello, everybody. I'm Officer Chavez, District 4 Community Resource Officer. I won't take up much of your time. Sounds like you got a pretty busy agenda. I will go over stats, open up for questions, and then we can go from there. So first is burglary. It went from 16 to 16. So 16 reports last year to 16 reports this year. It's a 0% increase or decrease. Larceny, 29 to 15, 48% decrease. Theft from motor vehicle went from 24 to 24, 0%, again, increase, decrease. And then motor vehicle theft went from 43 to 29, which is a 32% decrease. Overall numbers look good. I don't see anything out of the ordinary. Ruby Hill, again, it's always a quiet neighborhood. And then just want to give you guys some information about there is a police academy for teenagers, 15 to 19. That's going to be May 21st at 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. At 2155 North Akron Way. Again, so we'll have SWAT out there. We'll have Air One, the canines. There'll be a lot of cool events for the kids to do, teenagers to do. So if you want to get them in the house, kind of maybe talk about the cadet program, something they can be involved in. That day is a great day. Or even want to just go out and show the kids, the 15 to 19-year-olds, some of the equipment that we use. So that is open to the public. Again, that's May 21st, ages 15 to 19, and that's 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. at our Denver Police Academy out in District 5.
Wonderful.
With that being said, does anybody have any questions regarding stats that I can answer? And then anything else that I can answer while I'm here? All right, sounds like no one has any questions for this month. You guys hopefully enjoy that nice weather coming up. And if you need to reach out to me, you can always reach out to me at 720-913-0276. Again, that's my desk phone. Call me or email me anytime. You guys enjoy your meeting.
Hey, thank you so much. Really appreciate the update.
Take care.
Take care. All righty, and we're on to District 7.
Great, and I hadn't seen Maggie join, so I'm not sure if they're here, to be honest.
All righty. Then we will jump into the presentation with OV Consulting.
All right. Thanks, Graydon. Appreciate it.
Sure.
Hey, everybody. Glad to see what we got, about 8 smiling faces here and a bunch of icons. So that's great. My name's Chris Vogelsang. I am with OV Consulting, but I'm working for the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure with Denver. And I have a couple colleagues here that I'd like to introduce themselves. So Geneva, go ahead.
Thanks, Chris. Good evening, everyone. My name is Geneva Houghton, and I am the city project manager for a lot of bikeways in the city, including the South Lipan and South Jason corridor connections. So thanks so much for inviting us to your R&O meeting tonight. And Chris is going to provide the bulk of the presentation, but I will be here for all the tricky questions that Chris doesn't want to answer.
Yeah. And then Kat. Oh, go ahead, Geneva. Sorry.
No, I was just going to hand it over to Kat.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kat Hill. I'm also with OV Consulting, kind of providing support to Chris on this project.
Awesome. So I will, because Brandy was kind enough to make me a co-host, I will share my screen here. And I have it's a relatively brief presentation. I think it's maybe 15 slides or so. And great. I'll pop this up. And I can, I think we probably have Graydon's email, Kat. Is that whose email we have? We'll send this to you, Graydon, too, so you can have it and take info out of it. So, okay, so I'm the consultant project manager. Geneva's the Dottie project manager. So we're teamed up on this. And what we're going to talk about tonight is West Denver Safer Streets. You probably heard about. It's a program in kind of west side of Denver to build out 7. I think there were 7 corridors that were identified and that were approved by the voters as part of the Elevate bond in 2017? I don't know. It's probably forever ago.
Yeah, it was 2017.
Yeah. So anyway, we're going to talk about one specific one today. So the other ones are moving forward. We can talk about those, but I really want to focus tonight on South Lipan, South Jason Street. Okay. So I just want to give you an overview of what we're doing, give you an update about what's going on, talk about our plan to try to make connectivity better and safer, and then what happens next. Okay. So this was the kind of the high level thing I was talking about. So the map on the right shows the bike network in West Denver, kind of around Ruby Hill. Solid lines exist and dotted lines are proposed facilities, right? And one corridor we want to talk about that we paused on back in back last spring, we took a pause, was the one that's highlighted in the box here. So South Lipan Street, South Jason Street. So there was sorry, I got losing my voice a little bit, but so out of previous studies, which was Denver Moves, identified Lipan Street as a potential bikeway connection and with some real big goals to provide connections to Sanderson Gulch Trail, businesses, the bridge that's kind of aligned with Kentucky, that's coming over the Platte River, right? The Platte River Trail and the rest of our network. And just highlighted a few input pieces we got during our year of kind of talking to people about this previously. People really looking for safety and connectivity. That's what we heard from the neighbors. Okay. Our schedule, I'll get into that before I get into the details. So like I said, we had worked on this from about when COVID started, really. It was March of 2019? It's forever ago. We started then. Lipan was one we looked at pretty closely. We got a lot of feedback about it, so we paused. We're kind of re-engaging now. So we're kind of right in this area right here where we've come up with some ideas about some modifications to our original proposal, which I'll show you. We're meeting with folks. We met with Athmar Park. We're meeting with you guys. We have a stakeholder working group that's set up that has members from the business community as well as the neighborhood. So trying to kind of give everybody's perspective. And we're at the point where we can share, what's going on and the ideas at a high level. We'll come back with you. I believe we already have that scheduled. And I think that's great. When we come back, we'll have a little more specific details to share. And then we'll have a public input opportunity and we'll work into final design and installation later this year. Okay, so South Lipan. So Denver Moves and Blueprint Denver recommended that this be a bikeway. And really from Ruby Hill Park down to Florida all the way up across Alameda to the north side and connect with the trail there. There was a bike lane being considered there, so we did a lot of work. We laid out some engineering designs about how you might do it. And what we found through both our engineering technical feasibility study and through public comment is we don't think Lipan right now is viable, like it's not implementable because of the land use type got pretty tricky. There's a lot of industrial on the east side. There are a few sections that are quite narrow. Also, there's there's a railroad track crossing that's really skewed and hard to deal with. And then there were going to be a lot of curbside impacts that we hadn't been able to work through with the businesses yet about how that might work. So we took a pause and we rethought about it. And we've come up with an alternate idea that is, or probably has pluses and minuses that we can discuss, right? So as you know, if you're around in the neighborhood over here, you know, Jason Street had bike lanes installed, probably a year and a half ago, right? And those bike lanes are intended to be the detour route for when the Platte River Trail work starts. So they're going to be kind of working on the Platte River Trail down in this area here. And so we've got a detour that picks up from the Platte River Trail, comes down Jason Street, goes east on Louisiana and south on Huron and connects back to the trail. So that exists. We saw that was installed. We've been kind of paying attention to how that's working, seeing how people are using it, seeing how it's working with the businesses and everything, and seems to be working pretty well. And so we had an idea that, well, why don't we, instead of Lipan, which we aren't taking off the plate, but we're just saying we can't really do it right now until things change a little bit. Why don't we make Jason better, and why don't we make Jason connect better to the things we want to connect to? So for instance, this box up here, we would extend the bike lane system up to West Virginia. And West Virginia is one of our West Denver Safer Streets corridors where we're installing facilities as well. So we connect there. On the south end, we were saying, hey, you know, Ruby Hill Park is just a couple blocks over and a couple blocks south. Let's check that out. So we're looking at going west on Louisiana and south on Lipan. And this part of Lipan is a little wider, a little more stable, and crossing at Florida to get into Ruby Hill Park here. And then also this red star here, improving that crossing across South Platte River Drive to get over to the trail, which is part of the detour now. So that's kind of a high level picture of what we're hoping to do and wanted to pitch to you guys, I guess, to chat about it. A little information from a traffic perspective. So we try to make some data-driven decisions about facility types and locations. And Jason Street, we went out and grabbed some traffic counts just this spring, actually, a few months ago, and gathered speed and volume. You can kind of see that the speeds are a little high, right? So the posted speed limit's 25. And this is what we call the 85th percentile speed. That means that 85% of the cars are going that speed or slower, but 15% are still going faster. And I did hear from other folks that they think some cars go really fast on Jason. So we're kind of taking that input. And then the volume, right? So as you go kind of north, the volume kind of grows, right? So it's up to 5,500. What this chart shows, this is a tool we use to look at what type of facility makes sense based on speed and volume, where people will feel comfortable and safe. So this red dot is around the 5,500 and the 29 mile an hour mark, right? And that gets us into this bike lane kind of shaded area where a buffer would be preferred if possible, right? So if we could do a buffer, we would like to. So this is an overview. There's a lot of information here, so I'll just go through it kind of slowly. This is an overview of how we might configure the new sections. So the one in the middle and the one on the right, those exist. So those are ones that were installed a year and a half ago. on top shows what that street would look like, what Jason looks like if you were standing in it, kind of looking to the north, and how the lanes and the parking and everything work, right? And what the map below shows is just where in the world that configuration is. So that's how we're oriented here. So on Jason Street up in this piece north of Exposition, between Exposition and Virginia, we have 48 feet of existing width, which matches the piece that's just south of that. So it's kind of the same kind of street. And we're proposing to install the same facility type and same dimensions. So parking on both sides would remain, bike lane and 2 travel lanes. And those travel lanes are 11 feet because of the truck traffic. We feel like that based on our criteria, we need to do 11s and we can't go down to 10s. So that would be the north piece here, would be an improvement to that connection. And then I want to talk about the south end a little bit. So this is Jason Street down at Louisiana. Here's the Platte River Trail and the Platte River, right? And this is Florida at the very bottom of the picture. And what this shows, the green dash is the existing detour that's in place. And this blue and pink line are our proposed. So we want to come across here, and this would be, we're proposing bike lanes here. I'll show you that in a second. And then bike lanes on Lipan as well to come down and tie into those 2 crossings. So this enhancement really meets a couple of the goals we laid out in the beginning, which is connecting to Sanderson Gulch Park in a safe way and trying to connect down to Ruby Hill Park. So same kind of thing. So let me go back one. So Louisiana, we wanted to look, we had good data on Lipan from before because we looked at it, but we hadn't looked at Louisiana. So Louisiana kind of surprised us. So the speeds are very slow and the volumes are very low. And I guess it kind of makes sense, right? It's not the main east-west route, and it just is kind of a connector. And so that puts us here in this chart where a neighborhood bikeway could work. But because of the land uses and the type of traffic, a little more trucky, we're recommending bike lanes on that piece as well to be a continuous facility type. The final thing I wanted to talk about was the crossings. So this picture here is where Lipan and Florida come together. So Ruby Hill Park is right on the south side of this photo, and that Lipan's just on the north. You know, there's a traffic signal about a block to the east here at South Platte River Drive, which is pretty busy. So we're looking at, we did some traffic counts here. We looked at turning movements and sort of truck movements and things. And we did an analysis based on some engineering criteria to see what you could do. And we think that installing a rapid flashing beacon like the picture on the right, along with marked crosswalks, makes sense. It meets our criteria for doing that. And so we're just starting to develop a concept design for what that would actually look like. But the type would be, you know, those flashing yellow lights and marked crosswalks. One thing we're also doing is coordinating with Denver Park and Rec. If you know how this works, like if you've ever been to the Levitt Pavilion at a concert or something, you know that there's no sidewalk here, right? And people park and they kind of walk all over the street. Also, sometimes people park on the north side for big events and they kind of want to get across. We're talking with Denver Park and Rec about creating a sidewalk connection to the corner as well. So this little piece here, this is the Sanderson Gulch, or I think it's the Sanderson Gulch Trail, the little bike trail on the south side of Florida. And so we'd connect into that with curb ramp and everything. So we'd have a nice continuous connection for pedestrians to the park too, which met another goal of Denver Park and Rec. They did a study maybe 4 years ago, and this was one of their priority items to make too. So we feel good about that. The next piece down here, this is a little further up South Platte River Drive. This is where Huron and South Platte River Drive come together, and the Platte River Trails on the very south side here. And if you ever come down here, you'll see there isn't really any help to get across. If you've ever done this, you'll know that cars kind of come in what we call a platoon, like a big group of cars, right? They all come down and then they go to the next signal, and then there's a big gap usually where there's no cars coming, and that's when people cross. We would like to improve that to make it safer, shorter, and do the same type of treatment as I was talking about in Florida with the flashing beacons. There are some hurdles to get over still. about how this intersection, you kind of see in this picture how big and wide it is, right? Because of the truck movements that come in. So we're looking really closely and working with Dottie closely on how we could reconfigure this to get a much better crossing across here and connect in. So anyway, I wanted to give you a heads up. We're looking closely. We really want to do it. I'll be able to tell you the next time we meet, kind of where we ended up. But that's the plan. And I saw some stuff in the chat. Maybe I'll come back to that in a sec and check on that. So just as a summary, we would like to pause on the pan still, not move forward with the piece from Louisiana North. We would like to extend the Jason Street bike lanes to the north to Virginia, make the connection along Louisiana and Lipan to Ruby Hill Park, and make those crossing improvements. And that's really like kind of where we ended up as the best option going forward. Next steps, we are, like I said, we're starting to look at the engineering layout and sort of criteria for design and how we can do that. I'll have stuff to share the next time we get together. We do have a stakeholder working group that meets. We're meeting with them on April 28th. We did have, Kat, do you remember who the Ruby Hill neighbor rep was? Maybe they know. We'll have to look it up. We'll look it up
Yeah.
while we chat. But we reached out and we got a rep. I can't remember if they were able to attend our first meeting, but they're in the loop too. And I'll make sure you guys know who that is. And then we aren't planning on, since this is kind of one corridor, we aren't planning on having a big public meeting. But what we'll do is we're planning to meet with Athmar Park and you folks, Ruby Hill neighbors, again, to go over details and get input, meet with our stakeholder working group to get more detailed input. And then we were going to post our actual designs, which you may have seen how we did that before. We had the actual, like on top of the aerial, how everything is going to look and work. And you could go on the internet and you could put comments in specific spots like this driveway is really dangerous. I don't like this intersection. I really like how this works here. I'll run you through next time. We'll give a little short preview about where that information is and how to go access it, and happy to help you. So that's that. And then this will be important. This will be in the, I'll send you the PDF so you have it. But this is Geneva and my email contact info. We're always happy to hear and to respond and talk. Any input that your neighbors or friends or community members have. And there's also our project website. That's the bit.ly, which is West Denver Safer Streets. And I will say that the caps matter. I think we might have gotten several bit.lys. So if you mess it up, it kind of goes the same place. But best if you type in West Denver Safer Streets, all caps, or caps at the beginning of those words, right? So I'm going to stop yapping because I'm going to stop sharing. I'll come back to this if we need to, so we can all see each other. And I should ask Geneva, is there anything I missed or any points you wanted to reiterate?
Nope, I think that sounded great. And we're kind of, as Chris was saying, we're really just wanting to hear your feedback on this as we work through the designs. And I would imagine that we have a lot to talk about the crossing at Federal and Lipan, which clearly connects into Ruby Hill. And while we're on this, I also want to answer the question that's in the chat. So the proposed Lipan crossings would not conflict or cross with anything at Mariposa or Navajo. Those are a little bit up the road from where we will be. That's a good question. And while I'm here
Gotcha.
too, I'll hand it back to you, Chris.
Okay. Yeah, and we can close at the end, but let's see if anybody's got their hand up, or just shout it out if you have anything. Love to hear from you. And if not, that's okay. We'll be coming back with more details, and maybe that'll give you more to chat about.
It's not a huge point. It's more of just on the crosswalks. You guys had them both start. I do walk summer campers, or I walk a bunch of children across both those intersections. So it's beyond just bikeways, but it's also large groups of people for kids.
That's good to know. Where's the program? Like, are you trying to get to a certain park or
we go to Ruby Hill? We
go
go
to Ruby Hill.
our facility, which is on Mississippi and Santa Fe, or Calamath, right at that corner.
Gotcha.
And we usually walk to the path, but because the path's being operated on, it's kind of like a mixed bag of which direction we go. So we're just trying to find ways to get to Ruby Hill Park from there, and we take 15 to 30 kids at a time.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. So we definitely see it as a multiple benefit sort of thing. And we know it's important. So that's good to know. That gives us good, a little more reason to kind of try to dig in there. Thanks, Robert.
Yeah, not a problem.
I don't want to jump in front of, I see Anne has a question and Sharona, but this is to the point about the new Lipan crossing, or sorry, the new crossing that's just been built on, I think it's either Mariposa or Navajo. I think that was also the Safer Streets folks. So let me know if I'm out of line, but recently they built like this is not the right term, but a little bump on Florida so that folks can have a little safe stopping point before they go across. And, there's one on Tejon in Florida as well. But we've, noticed that there were no signs, big tall signs put up on those little bumps at all. And so folks are hitting them, of course. And I have noticed very recently that some cones have been put out there, but I guess my two questions are, when or if will there be actual signage placed on those little bumps that have recently been installed in the last 4 months, I'd say. And then my second question, if this is something you guys can answer, is it seems as though the crossing on Florida and Navajo or Mariposa has the ability to be a flashing pedestrian crossing, but they haven't been hooked up yet and they're not functional. So I was wondering if
They're
anyone
functional now. I've used them recently.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Hi, folks. Hi, this is Gabby Serrato, also with Dottie. So I can answer project questions about stuff that is outside of West Denver Safer Streets efforts. So, Brandy, yes. So we are still waiting. Unfortunately, our ops team is slammed with projects, and they have not been able to install the actual signs that basically warn drivers that it's a intersection median coming in. So that's why we had to install the the big orange barrel, the orange barrels that you see there, until basically we're hoping to get there by basically the beginning of summer. And yes, thank you. The flashing signs are working now, because I tested them out the other day, and it's lovely.
Yeah.
People actually stopped.
So someone's run into one already. It's a little crooked.
Oh my God.
Yeah, on the north side.
Personal accountability, but okay. Yes. Okay. I'll let my folks team know. Great. But yeah, signs are coming.
I guess just wondering too about that railroad crossing that's so rough on Louisiana between Lipan and Jason. I know I avoid it driving and don't particularly love going over it on bike either. Anything in the works for that?
Yeah, and that's a good question. And as far as I know, that street is not on our 5-year repaving plan. But let me verify that. And actually, I will do that right now in this meeting. I can pull up the map. We are not planning on resurfacing that. So the current roughness of the asphalt will probably remain, unfortunately, until it is resurfaced again. That said, currently there isn't really any formalized striping or kind of use of that space, and it's relatively wide. So I do think that having a formal bike lane across to really show people how to cross railroad tracks should help a little bit with just a little bit of comfort, even though the asphalt won't be improved.
It's not so much the asphalt, it's the railroad itself. It's
Track
like
heights.
old ties or something.
Okay,
Very
Yeah.
rough wood.
got it.
Yeah, here's the I'll just share the street view so you can all see. This is what she's referring to, right?
Yeah.
And
Right.
it's just beat up. Yeah.
That is unfortunately within the railroad sort of right of way, and Denver has no control over that. we continue to request to Union Pacific and BNSF to basically fix their tracks. But basically Denver's, we're not allowed to go within their envelope, which is basically where you see that line of, that distinction right after the stop bar. And I'm sure there's another one on the other side. So basically Denver is not allowed to go within that envelope because that's railroad, basically that's the property of the railroads and we're not allowed to actually fix that. It's the railroad companies that have to go in and do it, unfortunately.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good point though. The one thing we do like about that, Anne, is that the tracks are pretty perpendicular, right, to the road. And so the bike tires don't slide out. We were real worried on Lipan as you go further north, there's a track crossing that's really skewed. And that gives us pause too. So anyway,
Hey,
thanks for
Chris.
pointing that out. Yeah.
I just want to point out that it looks like Ashley R commented in the chat that she actually went over her handlebars there on Sunday going
Oh,
over that
geez.
railroad crossing.
Are you okay? Did you break anything? I hope not. That's fine. Okay, well, that's good to know. Yeah, the like Gabby said, dealing with the railroads, it's basically the way the railroads work is it's railroads and then God and then the United States. Like they are in charge of all that stuff, and we try to partner with them and work with them, but it's hard to work with them.
That's very true. My husband is a land surveyor, and if you don't bring Dom Perignon and filet mignon, they probably won't even show up to talk to you.
That's funny. Yeah. Well, we'll I tell you what, we have been out in the field there. We'll go take, another look. Now that we're getting our concept a little further along, we do some more field visits and maybe there's part of those tracks that are a little less rough. I don't know, that we can make the bike lane work a little better. We'll see what we can do.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
If we have time, I think Sharona had one more comment that we missed there in the chat. It says, can you speak to the new bike trail
bike
being
trail.
built? Yeah, along Santa Fe by the golf course.
Yeah, Gabby, do you know anything about that?
Yeah,
Okay.
I do. So that is the original official name was the Iowa Underpass, and is the trail that basically goes from Florida down to Jewel on Santa Fe, and then it also is supposed to go from Santa Fe underneath the Iowa railroads over to Cherokee. I can't remember for the end one on the other side. So obviously we had to split up the project if the folks here are not aware, because unfortunately CDOT realized, they told us that the railings underneath the Iowa underpass that were historic in nature. And basically that led down the rabbit hole. If you have dealt with any historical elements in the United States, unfortunately becomes a real pain in the tush to take them down because it's historic. And so because this project had federal funding attached to it, basically we had to split the project so that the Iowa portion, the Santa Fe portion can go ahead and get started with construction, while we can, find city funds, local funds, just for the Iowa section of it. So Santa Fe section is under construction, right now. It should be hopefully, it obviously started construction, and I believe it should get wrapped up. It's like an 8-month construction period. So basically we'll go down from Florida. It's building a really nice, I think 12-foot path on down all the way down to Jewel. Well, then where then it will match the Jewel bike ped bridge. That is also another bond project here in this area as well. The Iowa portion that is basically again from Santa Fe. Well, yes, that is, thank you, Chris. I think that's you. Basically, that's where the Jewel Evans, the Jewel bike ped bridge is going to come in. That one, we have already kicked off design. We are well underway. And so obviously the intent of all of this is to create a really great, comfortable, network throughout. So hopefully that one designed for Jewel Evans bike ped bridge should be wrapping up early next year. And then we can get started on the procurement for construction. For the Iowa portion, again, basically Santa Fe to, I believe, is Acoma, sorry, there we go. That one, we are just working on some minor details with basically BNSF and Union Pacific for the underpass itself for lighting. But we are ready to basically start, the procurement for construction. So hopefully by the end of this year, we can start, the procurement for construction. We can start before the summer, the end of the start of summer. And then we can, procure construction and start construction by the fall of this year.
Awesome. That's great info, Gabby. And I just want to recognize we both wore purple shirts tonight. We look great. Okay. Are there any? I didn't see anything else in the chat. And like I said, we will come back. You can always reach out, but we'll come back to this meeting and share a little more details about the things you guys are interested in. And I appreciate your time. Geneva, is anything further? No?
No, thank you all so much. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you, team. That was wonderful and very insightful. Really appreciate it. And Gabby, would you mind putting your email in the chat? That would be wonderful.
I can, however, my last day at Dottie is on Friday.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
So I will definitely post. I will post my email in case anybody has questions, like immediate sort of questions that I can try to answer before Friday. But then I will also post basically my one of my counterparts who will be able to help out if there's any questions.
Sure.
So with it. So
well, hey, thank you for all that you did for us here in the city of Denver, and best of luck and best wishes to your next venture.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And just to point out to people, so the Grandusi projects that basically were linked with Safe Routes to School, which is the pedestrian crossing that you guys saw in Navajo, and the elements that were by Schmidt Elementary, and also I keep forgetting the other Gottsman Elementary. Those are pretty much done. We're all missing is that signage on it. In addition, so it looks like we have a little bit of leftover funds, which is going to help basically fund the neighborhood bikeways that will connect for the Jewel Evans bike ped bridge on it. So on the west side through Asbury, and then on the east side through hold on a second, I am looking through Delaware down to basically Evans Station. For everybody. So we were able to knock out about 6 projects altogether with those funds. So
awesome. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. All righty, team. We'll move on to the next topic, which is the Levitt Pavilion. Very exciting. Andy, how's it going, sir?
Good, great. How you doing, man?
Doing good. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Man, I'm really dark. Sorry, I look kind of spooky. Apologize in advance for looking spooky, and apologize for being kind of tired. I had asbestos training at 7 a.m., my 5th year in a row. So those of you who've been to Ruby Hill for a long time know the importance of not digging in Ruby Hill Park. So we at Levitt are reminded that every year that we're not supposed to put anything in the ground. So anyway, that was 7 a.m. But on to more fun stuff. We are, at Levitt, we are coming back to do concerts, which are fun, way more fun than asbestos training. So starting May 13th, we're going to do 50 free concerts and about 12 ticketed shows. First show, May 13th, I'll go over a couple of the shows that I think are particularly exciting. First show is May 13th, Son Rompe Pera with Don Chicharron. Son Rompe is kind of like a punk cumbia band, which should be fun. And Don Chicharron, they're from Denver, but they play chicha music. Chicha music's kind of like Peruvian pop music, I guess. So that'll be fun. And then June 15th, Femi Kuti, he's kind of like a world famous Afrobeat musician. So that'll be really fun. July 13th is the New Respects, and that's our Levitt National Tour. So I mentioned that because a lot of people still don't know that we're part of a national network of amphitheaters. So there's other Levitts. And people always ask if we like shared programming and things like that. And we don't for the most part. But that show is the one band that plays all the Levitts. So they go around and not like back to back to back. It's not a proper tour, but throughout the summer, the new Respects Wolf played at all the Levitts. And I was just in LA last week because they did this big convening where all the Levitts got together and kind of discussed ways to, I don't know, build the mission. And all the people from the Levitt AMP series were there, which are AMP cities are basically smaller cities that are culturally underserved that can apply for funds to put on summer concert series. So there's probably like another 20 Levitt cities throughout the country that don't have an actual venue, but still put on summer concerts. So it was cool to be there with all of them. And I actually, before I worked for Levitt, played a Levitt AMP show in Anchorage. So we got flown out to Anchorage, Alaska to play a show. And they're still doing it, which is rad. And Anchorage is still one of those cities. So it's pretty cool. Another cool show is August 15th. That's Ila Bamba. And then opening that show is Kayla Marquis. Kayla Marquis, she's well, let me step back. That show is actually in conjunction with the Alliance for Music, Equity, and Education. So they're doing like a big resource fair. And that that group is basically a group of nonprofits in Denver that do some music education. We were part of it in the early steering committee because back then we were doing stuff with Schmidt Elementary. So that's like a big celebration. And Kayla, who's opening, is a local musician who is on our Bodies of Culture task force, which you can see some information on our website, but we're about to launch a lot more information on Bodies of Culture, which is basically a task force or group of all musicians of color that currently are in Denver. I guess one of them is in Fort Collins. But there's a lot of cool stuff that they're going to do, basically advocating for more resources and opportunities for musicians of color. And that's not only on stage, but kind of like at board levels and representation. Like we helped start it. Obviously, I'm not a musician of color, but I've always seen in these rooms where we talk about equity, including the Alliance for Music Education, you know, there's a lack of representation. A lot of folks that look like me, a lot of folks that look like on this call. That doesn't mean that's a bad thing, but it means it's kind of homogenized and there's not a lot of different voices there. So we're trying to change that, and we're setting up the model where we're letting the board and the Bodies of Culture kind of decide what they want to do. So I'm there as a facilitator and I help raise money for them. But the thing that they're launching next week is a survey that's going to go out to nonprofits in Denver, venues in Denver, and musicians. It's basically asking about issues of white supremacy and issues of equity, and asking what programs they do. And then next year, we're going to do a big award celebration for those organizations that we feel are doing like a good job in promoting equity in Denver. So anyway, Kayla Marquis is opening that show at 8:15, and she's amazing. In addition to the free shows, excuse me, I mentioned we do have ticketed shows, and those are announced on the website as well. One of which is cool, August 23rd, Elvis Costello. So that's pretty wild. So we get these big legends like Elvis Costello to play our tiny little stage. So we're very excited about that. And if you live in a house that borders the park, and we're pretty liberal about this, we do give free tickets to those ticketed shows. So we used to kind of say, if you're right on anywhere around the park, we get 2 tickets per household per show. But if you're a little outside of that, we've definitely been known to give tickets. So definitely let people know about that. We also, we know that sometimes noise concerns are a problem in the neighborhood. We will stress again that we've never been fined. And every time that we've ever gotten a noise complaint, we've definitely mitigated it in real time, gone to people's houses, turned down the sound. A lot of the time in the past, it's been me personally, which is fine. I'm still going to be part of this, but we have a new email address, which we'd like to share around. And this is outside of just noise complaints or anything like that, but it's just concerns@levittdenver.org. So that goes to me, and that goes to like 5 other staff members. So it wouldn't just be me checking, it'd be for any reason I'm not there, there's 4 or 5 other people that will get this email. So please spread that to the neighborhood and let them know if there's like anything, parking, sound, anything like that. That's a way that we can monitor things in real time. And like I said, sometimes I'm just not there at the venue. So more and more people can check it. One more thing regarding parking is we actually are partnering with the same volunteer group that does Film on the Rocks and parks all the cars there. So they're actually going to get 20 to 30 volunteers at Levitt per night, in addition to the new parking staff that we have through our new security company called Allied. So we're going to make sure that Ruby Hill Park is going to have a lot more staff in regards to parking. There's a big concern with people parking on the grass. I'm sure a lot of you have been privy to that, but with more staff and more volunteers, we'll be able to head that up. And also we're gonna put those no parking in the neighborhood signs back at the beginning of those beginning streets, kind of what is that, Arkansas and Cuevas and things like that. So just to discourage people, again, that's legal parking for people. So there's not a lot we can do when people do park there, but we definitely try to discourage as many people from parking in that area as we can. And again, I think the message to send to the neighborhood, there's been some concerns of people blocking driveways and things like that. Like, definitely get those cars towed. We don't promote that or support that at all. We don't want people to be disrupted. And also there was a neighbor who lived on Arkansas, and I ended up just giving her a cone. The cone helped a lot too. So that's like an easier step, is to just put a cone in front. People won't know that it's not an official cone, but they'll stay away, and that kind of helped. One neighbor who had a driveway that didn't look like a driveway, but I think for the most part, that kind of stopped that. So anyway, concerts, we're excited about them. I don't have too many more things to update you on. I know there's always questions afterwards, but yeah, so let's hear what you got. If anything, if not, we can make it short and sweet. I guess the last thing I'll say is we also have a community advisory board that some folks on this call are on. So for those of you on this call who aren't on that, honestly, we could probably use some more representation. And if not, we always want to hear from the neighborhood. And that's kind of like a more pared down version of these larger calls, where you can talk to Sharona or Brandy or Graydon, and they can come back and Jace, sorry, Jace. Oh, Jace always gets left out. He's always just Brandy's husband, you know? That's all he's got going for him. Anyway, you can tell any of those folks any concerns you're having, and they'll make it back to the monthly meetings that we have. So that's a good way to, offer any kind of advice that we have or any kind of concerns that you have. So please feel free to use that as well. But anyway, questions? Or comments? Favorite band? Was anyone at my show in Anchorage? That would be weird. Cool.
Or an easy way to get onto an email list for getting more local, I guess, getting the information of the bands that are playing.
Yeah, well, we have, if you go to our website, you can sign up for the mailing list, and we send out pretty regular updates. And then just on the website, on the calendars, if you click on each concert date, each calendar, there's like a Spotify playlist like that, so you can hear all the bands, and there's like a bio and all that stuff too. But yeah, the mailing list, we send out pretty regular emails. Central City Opera's playing the first week too. That'll be fun.
Andy, there's a question in the chat. Will you be bringing more hip hop groups in?
We have a couple aren't announced. There's the hip hop orchestra that played a couple years ago, and that's called the Ilharmonic. It's a hip hop orchestra. And then I think anything else that's announced, not anything like overtly hip hop, but definitely a lot with some hip hop influences, like New Respects. And there's a couple more. I don't know if we have anything more than that, unfortunately, but those couple ones we do have. Well, if that's it, I appreciate everyone's time and hope to see you out on the lawn this summer. And I'm always there running around like a chicken with its head cut off, but I'm always happy to stop and say hello. Right.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Andy. Really appreciate it. Yeah, looking forward to the music coming to the neighborhood. See you, sir.
Appreciate you.
All righty. And last but not least, we have Sharona Thompson with the Ruby Hill Community Garden. When you're ready, Sharona.
Okay, stand by. Let me get this. There we go. Can you see that okay? Can you hear me okay?
Can hear you okay. And currently, it looks like we're just looking at the files themselves.
Okay, hold on 1 second. Oh. Wait a minute. Unshare.
Stop sharing.
Okay. Hold on. How do I stop sharing?
No rush.
My IT Bubba Guru is going to help here.
Easy.
Do you see it? It's right there. Can you see that?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. Now, yeah, to the slideshow. Okay.
There you go.
All right. So guess what? If you are not familiar with the Ruby Hill Community Garden, we are the 100th garden underneath the umbrella of Denver Urban Gardens, this huge program that spans the Front Range and has, I think, almost 200 gardens now, but we're the 100th, and we are located at Ruby Hill Park at the top of the hill. And then when you go down, you'll see Levitt. But it is now, this year is our 10th birthday. And we want to invite the community to join us for our birthday party. And I'll get into that for a minute, but I want to give you a little bit of the history of the garden so that you can get a bigger picture as we're celebrating the 10th anniversary. So this was our humble beginnings in 2012. And we do have a couple of the first garden leaders that started this garden at this time. And Brandy, raise your hand. Ashley, I know I don't know if people can see you, but raise your hand, you're here. And so do you remember this when they were starting to put in the garden beds and there was nothing, it was a blank slate. So we moved from this to paradise, a neighborhood oasis, a jungle. And it's just been amazing 10 years to see this garden unfold. And so we've attracted a bunch of pollinators and critters. We even have a cat. And I don't know if that cat like hangs out and, and hunts the mice and stuff like that. But we've, it has attracted a lot of nature over the years. We have, I don't know how many thousands of pounds of food we have produced out of that garden, but we have a bounty, and we love first-time gardeners who have never gardened before, who are scared, and to show them what is possible and what they can do. And so Ruby Hill Gardeners Rock, we made it through a pandemic for 2 years. I mean, you can see everyone's masks on there, but we have adapted to all the changes in the neighborhood, the times, the pandemic, and we just keep growing. And so let's highlight some of those gardeners. And if your picture's not in here, don't worry, because this is just a little taste of what's coming for our big birthday party on July 30th. Okay, so yeah, we have a lot of characters in the garden. It's been really interesting to see building community and getting to know each other and seeing people's lives unfold and babies being born and you name it. We've got community builders. And there's Ron, he down at the bottom corner, he's smelling the compost that we created. We've got a lot of people who have never gardened before that are like rock stars now. We've got courageous risk takers, people willing to try things, even if maybe that plant's going to die, and they try again and they keep growing and growing until they can see the rhythm of how to make it work. And we have squash eaters, zucchini bread makers, and gardeners of strength. Anyone recognize themselves in this picture? Are these pictures? And then we've got lovers of, I can't see because of the pictures. What did I put here? Lovers of food, peacemakers, and contemplators. And Don is one of our gardeners at the top left. He's one of the garden leaders this year with me. And so he's part of the organizing this year as well. Oh, next. And what's so important is we have the next generation of gardeners. And does anyone recognize Dempsey here, like looking at worms? And I mean, we have watched a lot of these kids grow up over the years, and and see them get really comfortable with the dirt and the critters, and learning, being excited when they harvest carrots, and there's some carrots down there, taking rides in wheelbarrows, and gathering Japanese beetles as a game. We want it to be an inclusive, beautiful place where families can come, all ages, even people who may have disabilities. We will figure out how to adapt the gardens to their needs. This is for all of us, and it's just been so much fun watching it grow over the last 10 years. And so many friendships have been made out of this beautiful place. So join us for 2022, but you got to do it fast. The reason why is we are filling up fast. There's a few more garden plots left. And I mean, we're doing our orientations this week. We've got one on Thursday and we got one on Saturday. So you can see that the email is down at the bottom here. Email Don, he will get back to you as soon as possible, but do it like tonight or tomorrow. And otherwise, more people are gonna get second plots. We want everything to be full, and we want everything to be just gorgeous for our big party in July. We're opening it up to the larger community. And we got compost being delivered on April 30th. And let's see, the next thing is Ruby Hill plus Denver Days, Saturday, July 30th. We are going to combine our big party at the garden with our neighborhood party, which Denver Days was a project or a program that Mayor Hancock had put together for neighborhoods all over Denver to celebrate together and get to know each other. And so we've had a lot of really fun Denver Days. And so this year we're going to have it in the garden at Ruby Hill Park. And we're putting a committee together, but we have already a ton of ideas happening. Of course, there will be food, there will be music. We might align with Levitt if they have a show that night. If not, we'll bring music in. I am looking we have a lot of past gardeners who've moved on, but still have the memories, the alumni, and have pictures. We're looking to put together our story, especially with pictures. So if any of you who have been in the garden before, please send them to the email that I put down here, rubyhillgarden@gmail.com. So if you're interested in being involved with with ideas, adding ideas for this awesome day on July 30th, let me know. We want anyone who's feeling the juice for it to be involved. So do we have any questions at all?
Do you have to claim a plot in order to participate?
Oh, thank you. Very good question. So the plots are, yes. So you come to an orientation, and if, preferably this coming week, but you get a plot and you pay $25 to the garden, and that will involve the water, the tools, the compost. We have a lot of seeds that are donated, and we will have some classes. We've got work days once a month, and so the $25 goes for that. And then the other $25 will go to Denver Urban Gardens for their larger program. So it's a total of $50, but we never turn anyone away. If you are, I know things are tight for a lot of people right now, but we will work it out. And we do have 2 hours a month for give back days or give back hours. So we've got communal plots. We've got like strawberries, we've got an herb plot, we got like culinary herbs, medicinal herbs, raspberries along the edge, things that, the pathways and stuff that we all use. So we ask everyone to put in 2 extra hours a month towards that. And you can do that on the work days once a month and get that done. But yeah, you get your own plot and you get to harvest what you grew in that plot, and it's a great place to get to know neighbors, but also learn from each other. And maybe you've got too much zucchini and someone's got too many tomatoes. You can trade and, you know, and try new things. Any other questions? All right. Well, we have a Facebook page as well, so feel free to join us. And we like to put pictures of the season on there, and also like growing tips and stuff. So, all right.
Wonderful. Yeah, thank you, Sharona. And yeah, I really incentivize everyone to hit that email as quick as possible. I was able to immerse myself in the Ruby Hill Community Garden experience last summer, and it was a very joyous time, and the connectivity with the neighbors, and just seeing things grow, it was just very positive. And yeah, highly recommend you hit up Sharona there with the email. Thanks so much, Sharona, for wrapping up our April meeting here. I guess I'll leave the meeting with a reminder from the city. Denver is having their Dig Trees Day coming up here, April 23rd, I believe it's Saturday. They're going to be having tree sales at two parks, at Sloan's Lake Park and the City Park, from 12 to 2, and they're having like a flash fire sale there. There's going to be a discount of 50 to 70% off yard and fruit trees. So if you folks have availability this Saturday, put that on your calendar. Other than that, again, thank you everyone for your attendance and participation at this month's meeting. It was very fun, and we'll see you at the next one. Take care.